to the Real Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA Radio. This is Patrick Franz, your host, and I am back with Kevin Shortle, the man, the myth, the legend. No, the trainer's trainer. But Kevin, but before we went on that little commercial break, you were getting hot and heavy, and I love it. And you were saying, yeah, and if you buy a mortgage note and you need to get cash, you don't have to sell the whole entire mortgage note. You can sell a part of it. And I know you were going off, and I want you to keep going.
Yeah, it's a more advanced strategy in a way. It's something people don't think about. And again, just to circle back a little bit, when you own a piece of real estate, you typically sell that real estate. You're done with it, right? With a note represents a long-term monthly income stream, right? That's really what you have. So I could, again, if I owned 240 payments, that's what I purchased, I could turn around and sell any number of those payments to another investor. And it's really interesting when you put the math together on this stuff. It's really crazy because most of the value in the note from today is, of course, the next portions of the payments, right? So about 90% of the value is almost in the first half. Now, as time goes by, that changes. So it adds an interesting aspect where I've done deals where I bought a note and sold half of the note for more than I paid for the whole note. Now, think about that for a minute, everybody. I didn't say that wrong. I bought a whole note and then I sold half of it for more money than I paid for the whole note, which means I got my capital back, which I can reinvest in another note, and I still own what? The back half of that other note, because we already talked about what could happen, and that might be early payoff. So when there's an early payoff on a note like that, I get a portion of that payment too. I still have a vested interest in that note. I've also sold as a way to introduce new investors. I've sold them in a smaller portion. Some people go, oh man, I can't even imagine buying, 20 years worth of a note. I don't know if I'll be around that long, but I want to get started in something. I'll sell you 5 years of the note, and maybe I'll get a quarter of my money back, or something like that, or half of my money back. So we can chop them up any which way that makes sense, and that really opens up some brand new avenues. Because when you think about it, if you really learn this business where you have what I call the ability to identify a deal, and you really understand what I just said, that also means that you could go out, find deals, lock it up in a contract, and then sell that note to another investor at a higher price, make a fee, or sell them half of the note, but they're actually paying for the full note and you own the back half of the note, and you've had none of your own money in the deal. So there's certainly some creative, and I know I just threw a lot at you right there, but there's just so many advanced things that you can do, but it really comes down to understanding the numbers and understanding how this business works. So it really opens up some pretty incredible opportunities.
Folks, I'm just the host here, so I don't do a lot of self-promo. You can go to Note Investor University if you want to learn about this stuff from me, and you can call me at 619-520-0073. I do free phone consultations, but more so, I'm a trainer in the business, and I've been mentioning Kevin's the trainer's trainer, and that's why he's on my show. That's why he's on my mastermind calls. That's why I want to stick around and do a lot of business with Kevin. He's the man. So if they want to learn more of the complicated side of this, Kevin, where, again, we can't tell all the secrets on an hour-long radio show, and it's tough. I don't want to boggle people's minds too much, which I'm sure we've already blown some people's minds, but where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just reach out by email is the best way. Kevin@kevinshortle.com. And again, that's KEVIN@KEVINSHORTLE.com. And my website of the same name, kevinshortle.com. Real Estate Without Renters will also take you to the same place. And if you're interested in maybe reading up on it first, you can go to Amazon and look me up there and get the book of the same name, Real Estate Without Renters.
All you listeners out there, I strongly urge you to reach out to Kevin through his Kevin at kevinshortel.com email address, or going to kevinshortel.com, his website, and taking a look at what he has to offer. But great guy, offers his time up and really teaches note investing as good as the best of the best in the industry. So I strongly urge you to reach out if you want to learn more, because Kevin is the man. But you also we're talking about last time I spoke with you, the state of the industry. And I know you're a guy that is always keeping an eye on things in the state of the
Mhm.
industry. And some people who have never heard about notes maybe think that since they've never heard about them, they might be too good to be true. Some people will be saying, well, yeah, but the mortgage market's not the same as it was in 2007, before it blew up. And so, there's not going to be inventory, and these notes aren't staying around for long. And all. What's your take on all that? I mean, are notes here to stay? Is this something that people should be getting into now, or is it too late in the game?
It's definitely here to stay. And again, when we first started, I was talking about, the evolution of the business, and when were in it as I was from the infancy of the business to see where it is today, it's matured into its own asset class. And even people like Robert Kiyosaki in his books talks about, passive income. That's got to be real estate notes, royalties, and a small business. I mean, those are the four things that he looks at. He didn't know he's teach four things. There were three. Now you got real estate notes in there as well. So it will be around forever. We're going to see fluctuations of inventory for sure. And I've been studying the market, doing, keynote addresses and state of the industry addresses for the last 20 years. And it is something that I constantly look at. In fact, I was doing some research again today. So certainly we saw huge volume in the note business in the crash of 2008, because it really wasn't a real estate crash. It was a real estate financing crash. That's what it was. And that brings it right into our side of it, because people were getting loans that shouldn't have been getting loans. Let's, cut to the chase. That's what it was. And you had these loans that were just crazy, 100%, nothing down, stated income, all kinds of crazy stuff. And inevitably, shocker, it crashed, right? So that led up to a reawakening. The inventories became so high, and it also showed how the note industry was the solution to that problem. The government couldn't fix it. Wall Street tried to come in, buy a bunch of houses and fix it that way. That didn't work. It came down to small individual investors buying these things up and really working with people to solve the problem of the inability to pay. And back then, of course, nobody had equity in their property anymore. So a little different scenario than today. A lot of people in our industry focused on the government forbearance plans that were put out by the government to help people with this COVID situation. A lot of them didn't understand that those are only government-backed loans. Well, only government-backed loans is more than 90% of all loans out there. So it affected a lot of people, but not seller-financed loans. And there's a couple of things within the industry, such as loan minimums. When Dodd-Frank came in, they limited how much money banks could make on a loan. And in some states, banks can't make profit on a loan of $100,000. So they don't do it. And so it opens up this void that seller financing always jumped in. And that's where a lot of these investors I was referring to would buy property and sell it with financing. Why sell it with financing? Because banks are not going to give somebody a $70,000 loan on a property. Now, I know we've got people in California and everywhere else going, yeah, but you can't buy homes for $70,000. Yeah, in middle America, in the Midwest and the Southeast, there's plenty of that inventory. And that's a situation where seller financing comes in. So it's being fueled this way through seller financing filling a void, but us also cleaning up the existing loans, but also the ones that are coming out of the COVID plans. But you know what else has opened up is a lot of what I call turnkey notes. It's one of the things I talk about in my book. The note is one of the very simple ones that we started this whole program with, which is just a performing note that is performing and has been performing for years. So I even have former clients current clients, but that I've met years ago that I guided through buying portfolios of notes. And now they're in a situation going, I'm going to sell off some of my portfolios on these. I've made good money on them. I want to recapitalize. I want to look at some new programs that are coming up and reinvest that way. And you can buy notes that people have been making payments on for 8 years, and with a good track record. So with all of those, the inventory levels are here. They're not going anywhere. It's really become an integral part of the industry. In fact, and I'll wrap it up here, sorry, but there was even a big white page study that was done under the current administration, talking and educating their people and HUD, by the way, about the importance of seller financing. So if that doesn't show you, that, then you're missing it.
Well, the win-win-win I was talking about earlier, but on that side of things, folks, there's people out there that have families and pets and kids, and they want to be homeowners. They want to be homeowners and they want to have their own yard for their dog to run around in, and they don't always want to be stuck in a small apartment. And some of these folks, even though their credit score might be perfectly fine, their income might be perfectly fine, like Kevin says, is that they can't go into a Wells Fargo, a Chase Bank or wherever and get a loan on a $72,000 house, because it's not in the cards for Chase Bank or Bank of America to give those loans out that are so small. So if it weren't for property sellers, folks just like us that are selling a piece of property, but willing to sell it and carry back the financing for the homeowner, and without that, these folks would never be homeowners.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, Patrick, think about the rent versus what a seller finance note is. Even a seller finance note, now look, seller finance notes are going to be higher interest rate than bank rates, right? If you can get a bank rate, go to a bank. If you can't get a bank rate or the banks aren't lending, you're going to pay a higher interest. But your monthly payment on a $70,000 home might be $500 per month, even at a 9%. I didn't run numbers, but it's going to be a lower payment in that area. Might be $1,800 for the same house. So it is a financial problem, and I think that's why the government's looking at this and really allowing seller financing to grow and thrive, and not look at it as, hey, are they regulated? Are they doing this? Are they licensed? That sort of thing. They're really encouraging the seller financing, and I don't see that stopping. It fills a void that's needed in the real estate market.
It really does. And, happy homeowners usually, like I said, pay their mortgage payment on time, don't they, Kevin? Because if it costs $1,800 a month to rent the same house down the street and their mortgage payment's $550, boy, they're pretty keen on paying that $550 a month.
Yeah. And then you know what? So they get into this maybe at a 9% seller finance loan. I know that sounds high to everybody, but again, their monthly payment's going to be affordable. And with the appreciations that we have, it might be 2 to 5 years down the road. Now their house is worth over 100. Now they can refinance and get that lower rate, but they would have never gotten into the house without the ability to come in with low down payment and a seller finance loan.
Beautiful, beautiful. When we come back from this next commercial break, Kevin, I want to talk a little bit about how people can listen to your podcast, what kind of coaching you offer, those kind of things, but also more so, why should every investor own a note in their portfolio or several? Even if they're into stocks, real estate, rentals, apartments, got to get in the note game, and why. So folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes with Kevin Shortle.